Hello guys, in this video we will continue with the concept of adsorption. In the previous video we have defined what is adsorption and what is the mechanism behind adsorption and what are the types of adsorption, basically as physisorption and chemisorption. In today's video we are going to start with two main factors which influence the extent of adsorption of a gas on the solid surface. So before we move on to the topic, let's recall what is adsorbent and what is adsorbate. The solid substance on the surface of which adsorption occurs is known as adsorbent. So if this is the solid surface, on the surface adsorption is going to take place. So this surface is called as adsorbent. The species, maybe the gaseous species that is getting adsorbed on the solid surface is called as adsorbate. So this is the adsorbate, this is the adsorbent. The amount of gas that is getting adsorbed on this solid is called as the extent of adsorption. How long the gas can get adsorbed itself on the solid surface, and that is called as extent of adsorption. As I told you, two main factors influence this extent of adsorption of a gas on the solid surface. The two main factors are pressure and temperature. If pressure is kept constant, and when you draw a graph between the amount of gas adsorbed on the surface of adsorbent and the corresponding pressure. So you're going to draw a graph between the amount of gas adsorbed and the pressure. The curve that you get is called as adsorption isotherm because you're keeping the temperature constant. Now see, temperature kept constant, the graph obtained between the amount of gas adsorbed on the surface of the adsorbent versus corresponding pressure. You're keeping temperature constant, so we call that graph as adsorption isotherm. Iso means same, therm means temperature. So you're keeping the temperature same, which means constant, and you're drawing the graph. So these graphs are called as adsorption isotherms. So now we are going to study the effect of pressure on the adsorption of a gas on the surface of a solid. So in order to study the effect of pressure, we must bear in mind that adsorption is a reversible process. That is, desorption is also taking place simultaneously. When this gas is getting adsorbed on the solid, simultaneously what is also happening? Desorption is also happening. If you take the adsorbate and the adsorbent in a closed container, a stage is reached when the amount of gas adsorbed becomes equal to the amount of gas desorbed. We call this state as equilibrium state. You know what is equilibrium? When we say equilibrium reaction, the forward reaction and the backward reaction are taking place at the same rate. Same way, here adsorption and desorption both are taking place at the same rate. We call that state as equilibrium state. That is, the surface of the adsorbent gets saturated with the adsorbed gas and no more adsorption is possible. So equilibrium state, what happens? The amount of gas adsorbed becomes equal to the amount of gas desorbed. So after this state is reached, what is not possible? No more adsorption is possible. So keep that in mind. Now we are going to learn about the extent of adsorption. The extent of adsorption is usually expressed as x by m, where x is the mass of the adsorbate when equilibrium is attained and m is the mass of the adsorbent. Here m is the mass of the adsorbent where the adsorbent is the solid, and what is x? Mass of the adsorbate, and what is the adsorbate here? The gas. So the gas is getting adsorbed on the solid and we are expressing the extent of adsorption of this as x by m. What is x? Mass of the adsorbate when the equilibrium is attained, and m, mass of the adsorbent. As I told you, if you plot a graph between x by m and the pressure which we are taking as P of the gas at constant temperature, then that curve is called as adsorption isotherm. This is a simple type of adsorption isotherm. That is the relationship between the pressure of the gas, which is the adsorbate, and the amount of the gas adsorbed on the surface of the adsorbent is shown here at the equilibrium pressure. So this is the equilibrium pressure. Now see, x by m is taken in the y-axis and the pressure of the gas is taken in the x-axis. Now at this pressure, which is called as equilibrium pressure, x by m, this is the x by m, reaches the maximum value, which means after that no more adsorption takes place. See, you are getting a constant curve, which means the x by m reaches a maximum at this pressure and it is not happening anymore, which means adsorption is not happening anymore even if the pressure is further increased. Even if you keep on increasing the pressure, what is not happening? Adsorption is not happening. This state is called as saturation state in adsorption, and the corresponding pressure is called as saturated pressure. See, at PS, which is the equilibrium pressure, x by m reaches the maximum. So we call that state as saturation state, and that corresponding pressure we call it as saturated pressure, which is nothing but the equilibrium pressure above which no adsorption occurs. This adsorption isotherm is popularly called as Freundlich adsorption isotherm. What is that? It is a curve obtained by plotting x by m versus the pressure, keeping the temperature constant. So this is Freundlich adsorption isotherm. Now let's study this isotherm and let's see what details we can get from this graph. So this is that Freundlich adsorption isotherm which we have seen in the previous slide. This is x by m, this is pressure of the gas, and this is the equilibrium pressure where the saturation point is reached. Now from this graph it is very clear that at low pressure the graph is almost straight. See, this is the low pressure. Here the pressure starts from 0. So here in the low pressure the graph is almost straight. So this means that x by m is directly proportional to the pressure. That's why we get a straight line. So it can be written as at low pressure x by m is proportional to p, or you can write p power 1, which will be equal to p. So or you can write, cancelling this proportionality, you can equate it by putting a proportionality constant. You can write x by m is equal to k into p power 1. So at low pressure the extent of adsorption is directly proportional to the pressure. And now at high pressure, what happens? The value of x by m becomes almost constant, which means it does not change with the change in pressure. So even though you change the pressure, what is not changing? The x by m value is not changing. This happens at a high pressure. So we say the value of x by m becomes almost constant. So that can be expressed as x by m is equal to a constant, or x by m is proportional to p power 0. Pressure power 0 will be equal to 1. So you can say x by m is independent of pressure. So we are expressing it in this way. Or you can say x by m is equal to k into p power 0. So obviously p power 0 will be equal to 1 and x by m will be equal to k, which is a constant. So at low pressure x by m is proportional to the power of 1 of pressure, and at high pressure it is proportional to the power of 0 of pressure. So now at intermediate pressure, you can see from the graph the x by m, which is the extent of adsorption, is depending on the pressure. So you can say x by m will depend upon the power of pressure which lies between 0 to 1. So it can be a fraction. At intermediate pressure x by m is equal to p power 1 by n. Where n is a constant, it can be 1, 2, 3 or any whole number, which depends upon the nature of adsorbate and adsorbent. So if you put any number here, you will be getting a fraction, and this value lies between 1 and 0. So at intermediate pressure, the extent of adsorption will be proportional to p power 1 by n, or it can be written as x by m is equal to k into p power 1 by n. So this adsorption isotherms tell you about the dependence of extent of adsorption on the pressure and how to express it mathematically with a relation like this. This K and N can be determined by taking logarithms on both sides of the equation. So to calculate the constants K and N, you are taking that equation. X by M is equal to K into P power 1 by N, which means at intermediate pressure, the extent of adsorption depends upon the power of pressure which lies between 0 and 1. So anyways, this 1 by N will be equal to any fraction. Now taking log on both sides of this equation, you get log X by M log K P power 1 by N, or you can write log K plus log P power 1 by N. The power you can multiply in the front. So log X by M is equal to log K plus 1 by N log P. Now we are going to draw a graph between log P and log X by M. So when you draw a graph between log P and log X by M, you get a straight line. From the graph, you can find out the value of K and N by looking at the intercept and the slope. The slope will give you 1 by N value from which you can calculate N, and the intercept will give you log K value. From that you can calculate K value. So what is an adsorption isotherm? It's a plot of graph between the extent of adsorption of gas on a solid and the pressure of the gas at constant temperature. And we call this as Freundlich adsorption isotherm. This tells you about the dependence of extent of adsorption on the pressure, which is given by this expression. So extent of adsorption is equal to K into P power 1 by N. In the previous graph, we have seen the adsorption isotherm for one particular temperature, and Freundlich, he plotted curves depicting the variation of X by M with respect to pressure at different temperatures involving the same adsorbent and adsorbate. This is the graph obtained by Freundlich by plotting X by M and versus pressure at different temperatures. So this is for the same process of adsorption at 273 Kelvin for the same adsorbent and adsorbate, and keeping the same adsorbate and adsorbent, he increased the temperature to 240 Kelvin and recorded the extent of adsorption and the process of adsorption, and then lowering the temperature to 200 Kelvin. He kept on lowering the temperature and is getting a curve like this. From this curve, you can understand the extent of adsorption increases as the temperature decreases. See, this is the extent of adsorption at 273 Kelvin. This is the extent of adsorption at 240 Kelvin, and this is the adsorption at 200 Kelvin. So from this it is evident that the extent of adsorption increases as the temperature decreases. So a decrease in temperature favors adsorption. So far, while we were talking about adsorption isotherm, which is Freundlich adsorption isotherm, we were talking about adsorption of gas on solid. Apart from adsorption of the gases, the solids have also the capacity to adsorb substances present in solutions. Now let's see about that. So as I told you, solids also have capacity to adsorb substances present in solutions. In the previous graph, we have seen solids adsorbing gases. So for this example, adsorption from solution phase, you can take a piece of charcoal in a litmus solution in a test tube and shake it well. We have seen this example already. When you take the litmus solution, which is blue in color, and you place a charcoal in it, the solution will become colorless because the charcoal, which is a solid, has adsorbed the litmus, which is a dye, from the solution. So you can understand solids can adsorb from solutions also. So now, what are the observations regarding adsorption from solution? First one, the extent of adsorption decreases with increase in temperature. Just like how we have seen for adsorption of gas on solid, absorption of liquid on solid also decreases with increase in temperature. And the second point, increase in surface of the adsorbent promotes adsorption, which we have seen already. As the surface area of the solid increases, what will increase? The extent of adsorption also increases. Third point, extent of adsorption increases with increase in concentration of the adsorbate in the solution. Yeah, because more adsorbate will be available in the solution which the solid can take up. So the extent of adsorption increases as the concentration of the solution containing the adsorbate increases. And the last observation, the extent of adsorption depends on the nature of adsorbate and adsorbent. So depending upon the nature of the adsorbent and adsorbate taken, the extent of adsorption may vary. The actual mechanism of adsorption from the solution is not definite. Anyways, it is believed that it continues till a unimolecular layer is built up on the surface of the adsorbent. This is what people believe, which means the liquids from the solution is forming a unimolecular layer on the solid surface. You can apply Freundlich adsorption isotherm to this adsorption from the solution phase, and it is applicable approximately. The effect of temperature is also similar, just like effect of temperature on the adsorption of gas on the solid. When we apply Freundlich adsorption isotherm to liquid on solid, you can write this expression where pressure is being replaced by concentration, because we are talking about concentration of the solution. There we talked about gas, so we used pressure. Here we are talking about adsorption from solution phase, so we are using the term concentration. So this expression can be written as x by m is equal to k into c power 1 by n. The same way how we found k and n, you can do the same thing here also. On taking log, you get log x by m is equal to log k plus 1 by n log c. If you plot a graph between x by m against log c, you get a straight line. So it is similar to the plot which we got for Freundlich adsorption isotherm in the case of gases. And this graph also we call as isotherm, because here also you are keeping the temperature constant, but what is varied? Concentration is varied. In the case of gases, we kept the temperature constant, and we recorded the extent of adsorption in terms of pressure. Here we are measuring in terms of concentration. So this is all about adsorption isotherms. Now we will move on to the applications of adsorption. The phenomenon of adsorption finds extensive applications in industry, in labs, and also in various chemical processes. So now we are going to see what are the important applications of adsorption. The first one, which we have already seen as an example, is removal of coloring matter. Many substances such as sugar, juice, and vegetable oils are colored due to the presence of impurities. They can be decolorized by placing in contact with adsorbents like activated charcoal. You know what is activated charcoal? What is animal charcoal? We get animal charcoal by calcining the bones of the animals in a closed vessel. Calcining means you're heating it or burning it in the absence of oxygen. We call that as calcination. If you do that calcination to bones of animals, you end up with animal charcoal. Same way, if you take any organic matter or wooden part, which is wood, and if you heat it, you get charcoal. The difference between charcoal and activated charcoal is both have the same source, but the activated charcoal is prepared at a higher temperature, and they have lot of applications like this. So when you take the colored matter like sugar or vegetable oil and you keep it in contact with adsorbents like activated charcoal, they can be decolorized. And the second application is gas mask. Now all of you would have realized the importance of mask due to this corona. These gas masks are used by coal miners, because they are exposed to the atmosphere of carbon monoxide, which is a poisonous gas. So in order not to inhale that, they use masks which contain activated charcoal. They absorb poisonous and toxic gases from air. So again, what is playing a role? Adsorption. The poisonous gas is getting absorbed on the activated charcoal. And the next application is in separating noble gases. You know what are noble gases? Neon, argon, krypton, xenon, radon are called as noble gases. The activated charcoal, which is coconut charcoal, is very capable of absorbing the noble gases present in a mixture at different temperatures. So when you keep the coconut charcoal in contact with the noble gases, the coconut charcoal will absorb the noble gases, different gases at different temperature, except radon. So this helps in the separation process. For example, if you have a mixture of noble gases and you are maintaining that mixture's temperature at 173 Kelvin and keep it in contact with enamel charcoal, only argon, krypton and xenon goes into the surface of the coconut charcoal, where helium and neon will remain in the gaseous state. Now when you take that helium and neon and maintain the temperature at 93 Kelvin and again keep it in contact with coconut charcoal, neon gets absorbed, leaving behind helium in the free state. So following this process, you can separate all the noble gases one by one, because the coconut charcoal has the capacity to absorb different gases at different temperature. And the next application is dyeing of cloth. You have different color costumes. In order to fix that color, which we call as dye, on that cloth, we use some substances called mordant. Without that mordant, your dye will not get itself fixed on the cloth. We use these mordants such as alums for dyeing of cloth, in which adsorption process is taking place. And the next one is heterogeneous catalysis, which we will be learning in detail in the next video. When we use catalyst to speed up a reaction, the reactant molecules get adsorbed on the catalyst surface. So again, adsorption plays a role here in heterogeneous catalysis. And the next application is adsorption indicators. When we do titrations in the lab, when we do volumetric analysis, we look for the endpoints, because there will be a sharp color change. In such cases, in some precipitating reactions, dyes such as eosin and fluosin are used as adsorption indicators, because the precipitates, they absorb these dyes and they come up with a characteristic color, which is helpful in identifying whether the reaction is over or not. So again, we use these indicators where adsorption is taking place by the precipitates. And the next application of adsorption is in qualitative analysis and in chromatographic techniques. We have studied about quantitative analysis and qualitative analysis in grade 11. I've told you quantitative analysis is calculating how much quantity of given substance is present. Qualitative analysis is finding out whether a given sample contains a particular ions or not. For example, we do a test called a Lake test for confirming the presence of aluminium ions in the given sample. And this test is also based upon adsorption. The aluminium ion is present as aluminium hydroxide, which has the capacity to absorb the color of blue litmus from the solution. So when it absorbs the blue color, then it appears blue in color. So you can identify what is present. Aluminium ion is present in the given sample. Same way, chromatographic techniques, we have paper or column chromatography, which are used for the purification or separation of substances available in small amounts. There also, what technique is followed? Adsorption. And the next application of adsorption is dehumidizers. I've told you silica gel is commonly used to absorb humidity or moisture from air. I've given the example of leather shoes or handbags. This is actually necessary for the storage of delicate instruments, or otherwise they will get damaged by coming in contact with moist air. So keep those instruments moisture free. We use silica gel which absorb the water from that particular atmosphere. And the ninth application is in creating high vacuum. In some experiments, a very high vacuum is needed, which means that the air from the vessel has to be completely evacuated, removed. We use vacuum pumps for this purpose. Anyways, charcoal can be used to remove even last traces of water, so that you could achieve very high vacuum, because the charcoal absorbs the presence of any gas from the air, creating a high vacuum. And the last one is the froth flotation process, which you have learned in general principles of metallurgical processes. We use this concentration method for concentrating sulfide ores, which contain some impurities, by mixing it with pine oil and agitating it with air. The sulfide ores get adsorbed on the foam with the oil particles, whereas the gangue particles are left behind in the water. And again, what is happening here? Adsorption of the sulfide ore on the oil particles. So adsorption plays a very important role in all the fields. We will be seeing about a few of these applications of adsorption in the upcoming videos. Thank you.